Hello, children. In distressing days, I can't help but think of some of God's greatest men who took a stand against such times as this. Honestly, I can't think of a better group of people than the judges of Israel. Can you think of any? Samson, of course.
Hey there.
Gideon, Barak and Deborah. Oh, and Shamgar.
Shamgar? Who's Shamgar?
Who is Shamgar, you ask? Well, let me just tell you. In the book of Judges, chapter 3, you'll find a sad tale of apostasy. God's people turned to idols made of stone. And in that chapter, you will find they got in trouble every time they chose to disregard God's worthy throne. But in that chapter were a few who knew exactly what to do. They turned to God, repenting for the land. And God would show his power through them, though they were plain and simple men. Their faith was what would bring God's mighty hand. You'll notice Othniel, he's the first who saved his nation at their worst. And then came Ehud with his strong left hand. But if you don't look carefully, you'll miss the greatest of the three. 600 men were slain by Shamgar's hand. Shamgar was a man who didn't have the slightest plan on how to win the battle for the Lord. But Shamgar put his trust in God, though all he had was a plowing rod. His trust in God became his mighty sword. Shamgar was like you or me, not Superman or Hercules. He was a farmer, that's what he did best. But one day as he plowed his field, 600 men with swords and shields approached their destination of conquest. I kid you not, he saw them as they spotted him. Without a doubt, this was the end. He might as well attempt to kill a few. He looked back at his farming load and spotted an old rusty goad. He picked it up and said, "It'll have to do." Oh.
What happened next?
Well, he swung it right, he swung it left as 14 men fell to their death. All fired up, he killed about 30 more. He swung that old goat up and down and brought 10 more men to the ground. 30 more would make an even 84. You'd think that he was having fun. After 400 men, they were on the run. But did that stop old Shamgar? Oh, no! He backed 200 against the wall, both big and small. He killed them all. Those Philistines didn't have a place to go. Shamgar was a man who didn't have the slightest plan on how to win the battle for the Lord. But Shamgar put his trust in God, though all he had was a plowing rod. His trust in God became his mighty sword. You may be skinny, short for size, the kind most folks won't recognize. There's nothing you have done to make the news. God's looking for a boy or girl who lets his will for them unfurl. And you may be the one that God can use. Oh, Shamgar was a man who didn't have the slightest plan on how to win the battle for the Lord. But Shamgar put his trust in God, though all he had was a plowing rod. His trust in God became his mighty sword. But Shamgar put his trust in God, though all he had was a plowing rod. His trust in God became his mighty sword. Have a great day, children.